Hi guys, welcome to another crochet tutorial with me, Laura. I thought I would share with you how to make the larger snowflake out of my little snowflake collection. In my last video I showed you how to make the little mini snowflake. I've done another mini snowflake tutorial somewhere as well. I've done so many snowflakes, but I'll put links to those in the description below. But in this video we're making the larger snowflake. So for this pattern you can use any yarn you like, any hook size that's suitable for the yarn you're using. So I think to mix it up a little bit, I'm going to use a sort of middle blue sort of colour, sky blue colour. This is a DK light worsted weight yarn, so yarn weight of 3 if you want to follow the exact yarn that I'm using. With that I'm using a 3.5mm E4 crochet hook. It's also a good idea to have a pair of scissors and a yarn tapestry needle as well. So let's begin, shall we? Okay, so we do our little slip knot to begin, and then we're going to chain 4. Let's chain 1, 2, 3 and 4. Chain 4. We're going to slip stitch into our first chain. So find your first chain, put your hook into there, bring the yarn through and straight for the loop on your hook to create a little 4 chain loop. In the middle is a hole. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've chained 8. We're going to slip stitch into the center of our 4 chain loops. So don't confuse it with the first chain hole. You need to find that middle of your loop, in the middle there. Put your hook into there, bring the yarn through the middle, straight for the loop on your hook. Let's do a slip stitch. Okay, so we get this big 8 chain space. I'm going to do that another 4 times. So chain 8 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. So chain 8. Make sure it's all facing the right way. And slip stitch into the middle again. Okay, slip stitch into the middle again, and do that 3 more times. So chain 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Making sure it's facing the right way. Slip stitch into the middle of your 4 chain loop. Okay, you might need to move these over a bit, and we're going to do that twice more. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Slip stitch into the middle. Do that one more time. Chain 8, 2, 3, 4, 7 and 8, and slip stitch into the middle. Okay, so you end up with this kind of 5 petal loopy flower thing, which is nice by itself. But what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch up to the top of the next 8 chain space. So find this next 8 chain space. We're going to slip stitch, put a couple of slip stitches in there. So put your hook into the middle and just bring the yarn through the big gap and straight for the loop on your hook. And we're going to do that twice, then go back in again and bring that through, and that kind of gets you near the top of your 8 chain space. And then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to count that as a double crochet. Then into the same 8 chain space we're going to do 2 double crochet. So put your hook back in there and just wrapping it around the chains, do 2 double crochet. Might just move it over. So that's 1 and another 1, 2. And then what we're going to do, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to slip stitch into this 8 chain space. Just do a slip stitch. Okay, so it looks like that. Then we're going to slip stitch into the next 8 chain space. So find the next 8 chain space, put your hook in the big gap and slip stitch into there. And do the same thing again. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do 2 double crochet in the 8 chain space. So it's 1 and 2. Then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to slip stitch into the 8 chain space. We put a hook in there, grab the yarn and bring it straight through the loop on your hook. And repeat that all the way around. So then slip stitch into the next 8 chain space, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 2 double crochet in the 8 chain space. So this pattern's in US terminology, so in UK terminology these are trebles. 2 of those, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch to the 8 chain space as well. Slip stitch into the next 8 chain space, chain 3, 2 double crochet, chain 3, slip stitch, slip stitch into the next 8 chain space, chain 3. Then we do our 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, but instead of chaining 3 and slip stitching, we're just going to do another double crochet. So do a 3rd double crochet in this last 8 chain space. So at the end of the round, instead of chaining 3 and slip stitching, we just do a double crochet. So you've got 1, 2, 3 in there. Okay, so that's the end of that round. You should have something that looks like, almost like more like a flower as well. And now what we're going to do, we're not going to slip stitch to join or anything, we're just going to chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we chained 5, and we're going to slip stitch into this 3 chain space. So these first 3 chains we did, to find the gap in between those 3 chains and that double crochet, we're going to slip stitch into there. Okay, so it's the gap in between the chains and the double crochet. Then we're going to slip stitch into the next double crochet in the next stitch, slip stitch into there, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and slip stitch into the next stitch. Okay, so you've got like a little picot on the end. Then slip stitch into the next 3 chain space. Okay, then we're going to chain 5 and repeat that. So chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slip stitch into the 3 chain space. So this gap here. Slip stitch into there. And slip stitch in the next stitch. Chain 3, 3, slip stitch in the next stitch, and slip stitch in the next 3 chain space, this big gap here, and repeat that all the way around. Chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, slip stitch in the 3 chain space, slip stitch in the next stitch, chain 3, 2, 3, don't forget your little chain 3, slip stitch in the next stitch, slip stitch in the 3 chain space, and then just repeat that back to the beginning. Chain 5. Okay, so nearly back at the beginning, slip stitch, next stitch, and instead of slip stitching in a 3 chain space, we don't have a 3 chain space at the end, so we're just going to slip stitch in that last double crochet to finish. So hopefully it looks like this now. Okay, so moving on to the last round. In this 5 chain space, we are going to start off with 2 half double crochets. So in UK terminology, that's a half treble. So put your hook into that massive gap, do 2 half double crochets. Let's pull through all 3. Then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to do another 2 half double crochets. Okay, so that's 1. Might have to move them over, and then 2. Okay, then we are going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then do 2 half double crochets in the same 5 chain space. So 2 more half double crochets, which is always a little bit tricky after you've done chaining. If it's easier, you can do double crochets if you really struggle. So that's 1 and then another one. So 2 more half double crochets. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then 2 more half double crochets. 1 and 2. Okay, so you end up with 2 half double crochets, chain 3, 2 half double crochets, chain 6, 2 half double crochets, chain 3, 2 half double crochets. Then what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into the next 3 chain spaces. This little picot that we did in the middle of these stitches, we define that little 3 chain space, slip stitch into there. I'm going to do a little chain 3 and slip stitch in there again. Okay, and then we're just going to repeat those steps again. So we find the next 5 chain space, which is here, and do the same thing. So 2 half double crochets, just go straight into there. 2 half double crochets, chain 3, 2 half double crochets, 1 and 2. Then we chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do 2 half double crochets, which is always a bit harder after the chains. So if you really struggle, it may be easier doing double crochets rather than half double crochets. So 2 half double crochets, then chain 3, 2 more half double crochets. 1 and 2. And that's all in the same 5 chain space, so it's all in there. Then find the little 3 chain space in between, slip stitch into there, chain 3 and slip stitch in there again. Creates a picot on top of a picot. And then repeat that again. So I'll show you one more time. Find the next 5 chain space and do 2 half double crochets, just go straight in there. 2 half double crochets, chain 3, 2 half double crochets, chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, move those over, 2 half double crochets, all in the same 5 chain space. Oh, this one's always the trickiest. That's 1, 2, chain 3, and then 2 more half double crochets. It looks like I'm doing it slightly different there, but it's just more fiddlier because it's after the chains. It is the same. You just pull through all 3. Okay, find the 3 chain spaces, little picot here, and slip stitch into there, chain 3 and slip stitch in there again. Okay, so repeat that for the last 2 5 chain spaces, and then I'll come back and show you the finished snowflake. the last little 3 chain space, chain 3, slip stitch in there again, and we're back at the beginning. And that's it. We can just slip stitch over into one of these stitches just to finish. And there we go, there's our finished snowflake. You can add a loop if you wanted to, but I'm just going to cut mine and I might turn it into some bunting or something. Just bring that through. Get my yarn needle. Sew to the back. Nice and tight, turn over, then hide your tail end as neatly as you can. And again, then we just cut down the excess, and I'll cut my beginning tail end as well. These scissors are so blunt. Need to start using the scissors I actually sell in my marketplace, would be good because they're much better. And there we go, there is our finished large snowflake. They can go with our other 2 snowflakes. So I did one in white, I did one in a darker blue. So you can use any yarn that you like, any colours, different shades of blue or green or white, creams and things. You can use sparkly yarns. And if you make some little mini ones from my other video, which I'll put a link in the description, you could alternate, so you could make some bunting, have a big snowflake, little one, then maybe this one, and then like a little one all the way across, which will look really pretty. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope you managed to follow along. But I'll see you soon for some more crochet fun, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram and tag me at happyberrycrochet, and I get to see your makes as well. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.